Hey there, listeners. Welcome to Hines on Air, your weekly dose of inspiration, motivation, and real-life entrepreneurial stories. I'm Matt Hines, your host, and I'm excited to have you join me on this journey. From building a successful law firm to venturing into other industries like real estate and social media, I've experienced both the triumphs and the challenges that come with entrepreneurship. I've learned firsthand the importance of resilience, adaptability, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. On Hines on Air, we're diving deep into the world of business, law, and personal growth. Join me as I chat with incredible guests who have faced adversity, defied expectations, and achieved extraordinary success. We'll discuss their strategies, their mindset, and the lessons they've learned along the way. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned business owner, or simply someone looking for a little inspiration, Hines on Air is for you. Remember to subscribe, like, and leave a review whenever you listen to podcasts. Your support helps us reach more people and continue sharing these incredible stories. Let's get started.
Hello, everybody. Matt Hines here with you. We got another Hines on Air. Today's guest, just to me, defines inspirational. All right, so he started off in poverty, one of 5 kids, I believe, and struggled throughout, was diagnosed with all kinds of disabilities, which is a bunch of nonsense. And then I think I read his biography, was voted most likely to fail. Is that correct?
That's true.
Most likely, I've never even heard of something that crazy. But anyway, that's what they thought. And then this gentleman goes off, defies all odds. Football Hall of Famer, played professional football also for the Rams and the Colts. Went on to write several books all about winning and how to overcome the odds. So I am super excited to announce Mr. Shawn Harper to the program. Welcome, Shawn.
You know what? Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me. Let's go. Let's win. And it's really interesting, something that you said about having, 4 to 5 documented learning disabilities and voted most likely to fail. The power in that is that it's all about labeling. Like, what is your name? And my name is that I'm not disabled. I'm uniquely enabled. And once I was able to change that, it has catapulted me to and through so much. So I'm excited to talk to you about all that, and I'm excited to win. Let's go.
No, I'm so glad you say that, man, because I've talked to kids. I'm not a fan and proponent in a lot of the ADHD, ADD, all these types of labels they put on kids. To me, it's a big effort to sell drugs, but I don't want to offend you or someone else. Some people totally disagree with that, but I think it's a bunch of BS. I understand somebody could be depressed or feel bad and need some help, but putting people on drugs and all anyway, that's it. But anyway, I'm so glad to hear that you overcame whatever obstacles were put in front of you. What was life? All right, so we'll start off. What was life like growing up? You were one of 5. I think your family, your mother and father separated, and it put y'all in a difficult situation, right?
Yeah. So I must have misspoken somewhere, but it's like actually it's one of 6. Born on the south side of Columbus, Ohio. Struggling in education, struggling in every aspect of life. I was, abused physically. My father had left when probably was like 3 years of age around that time, and was hit a lot in just certain areas of life. Number one, I'm in extreme poverty. My mom is, trying to raise all 6 of us, scrubbing floors, just, trying to make ends meet, trying to hold the family together. We went through a pretty high level of trauma in 2024 terms and vernacular. From there, went to school, a public school, and I repeated the first grade. I remember standing in a second grade line, first day of school, also excited. My friends from the first grade, haven't seen much of them over the summer. Now it's second grade, and guess what? I'm being pulled back in the first grade, and they're yelling, "Shawn, you failed. Shawn, you're stupid. Shawn, you're dumb." And I would watch all the other students advance, and I knew I was different. I knew something was wrong. And by the time I'm in the 5th grade, I'm struggling reading in class, and the teacher pulled me to the side, and she's like, "You know what? We're going to test you." And I was tested for about 3 or 4 days, and at the end of that test, with a psychologist, a sociologist, this ologist, and that ologist all in the room, they called my mom in, and they're like, "Ma'am, your son has 4 to 5 documented learning disabilities." And that kind of pushed me back, in addition to things like stuttering and all that. And kicked out of school for disciplinary issues. Leeds High School, he kind of alluded to the fact that I was last in my class with a 1.62 cumulative GPA, not on my ACT. And I wasn't even like honorable mention or conference, no accolades, no awards, just that participation trophy, right? And then I go off to a junior college, a 2-year school in Iowa. And going into the second year, to make a really long story short, I had a conversation, and the conversation was that, you know what? I don't have what it takes to be successful, according to their definition. I said, but I can win. And the moment I said I can win, it changed the trajectory of my life. I believe, and I'll end here, all actions stem from thoughts. All thoughts come from your belief system. But there's one step deeper, which is called your self-concept. Everything originates from your self-concept. Once I changed that from victim to victor, I said I'm a winner, then it changed the trajectory of my life. Change your focus, change your life.
What was happening when you made that decision?
Pain.
You were like, Luke,
Pressure.
pain, like emotional pain, or like from practice?
Emotional. I was probably at the lowest moment of my life. I just went through a breakup. I was just, I just really wanted to just give up. In fact, I told my mom, I said, Mom, I quit. I'm done football. I'm done with everything. And at the lowest part of my life, and in that moment, it just like I flipped a coin. I just made a flip, and the flip was, you are a winner. That's who you are. I'm just going to redefine who I am. My life journey is to perpetually convince myself that I am the winner and allow the energy and the power to flow from that. And so in other words, now I see possibilities versus problems, right? And I look to what's possible all the time.
Where were you when you made that decision, man? Were you like sitting in your dorm?
So I'm at junior college when I made that choice, but it really clicked in. I was in Columbus, and it was in May, and I made that decision to say, you know what, I'm a winner. And one of the first things I did, and I normally don't share this, I caught the Greyhound bus back to Mason City, Iowa, at the junior college, because I didn't have the grace to go to a main college. So I went back to junior college, and I began to train. One of the things about winners, and actually I'm going through this right now as we speak, there comes a time where a winner has to isolate himself. Winners have to isolate themselves. What I call now, it's brand new. I'm just looking at some of the greatest blessings in my life is you got to go dark. You have to just withdraw, and you got to dig deep, get a small circle and dig deep. Sometimes it's by yourself. Sometimes it's maybe 2 or 3 or 4 people, but collapse your circle. Everyone's in agreement with you, and go deep.
Did you say go dark? What does that mean?
That means that, certain people that are in your circle, you just got to, excuse them. People who
Let them get away. If you got negative energy, get out of my space.
Get rid of them. It's like, you know what? You got to go. For a season, I have to separate myself. I have to isolate myself. I got to take my dream, my goal, my vision, my energy. I have to protect my energy. That's so important. You have to protect your energy, and you go dark. And you just say, you know what? I'm going to just do what I need to do. I look on the internet a lot, and on Instagram, I think it's Instagram. Yeah. I see those motivational videos of, if you want to be great, take 90 days and just totally disconnect and just drill deep. That's what I'm doing. I'm going dark. I'm drilling deep.
And by drilling deep, you mean thinking a lot about your situation, or thinking a lot about what you can do to overcome the situation? Like, what does go deep mean?
Yeah. Well, a lot of times it is that it is a time, it is a place of intense focus, but it's also a time and a place of intense listening. You're listening to what you want to do. You're listening to where you're going. You're listening to what's outside of you to gather your input and your coordinates on where you're going. And everyone, they want to have all kind of good information and knowledge and tips. Sometimes you got to shut out the world. And you got to focus on, this is what I'm going to do. I've been married for about 25 years, and a old friend of mine gave me a very good analogy. And what he said is that, there's sometimes in your marriage that you have to pull up the drawbridge to your castle, and no one gets in, and you have to focus on your marriage. You got to focus on what's important. Well, there comes a time, and you think of, there are a lot of amazing people, but they don't talk about this. There comes a time where, you have to do it in the dark. You got to go dark. You got to go deep. Like, you see a professional football player and he's doing an amazing job on Sunday, or a great college player, everyone's clapping, but you don't see the dark moments. You don't see June. You don't see April when he's training and running up a hill and sweating and crying. He went dark. He's running up them stadium steps. You don't see all the preparation. You don't see that, and act
Extreme focused.
extreme focused.
You brought up a good points. There's a lot of people who perceive themselves as failing or just having a tough time, and they would love to have that spark of inspiration just go off in their minds. What could you say to sort of prop that? Because they're probably begging for this boost of confidence to come up and, give them that second wind.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I would say is you don't have to win all 4 quarters to win the game. And oftentimes people look at their life and they look at their actual trajectory, and they look at it from the confines of other people's opinions, other people's beliefs, their actual approaches. In other words, they're telling you how far you have to go and how good of a job you're doing. Rule number 1, you don't have to win all 4 quarters to win the game. Rule number 2 is you have to develop an inside game. The inside game is that it's all in here. Okay. You might not be able to receive or see the results out here, but do you see the results in here? Okay. And so you have to focus on that. You got to lock in on that until it manifests out. And the last thing I would say is this: progression goes 2 ways. Progression goes both ways, right? So check this out. When you have a bow and arrow, when you pull the bow and arrow back, it is storing all that energy. And when it's released, bam, it goes, and it goes far, and it goes fast. You might be in the phase to where you're being launched or you're being pulled back and loaded. You're being loaded. So in that loaded phase, you cannot, get so discouraged when you're throwing the towel. You're just being loaded. Whether I lose a job, I'm being loaded. I had a setback, I'm being loaded. It doesn't have to meet your expectations. You're going to blow your expectations. You're being loaded. And once you have that mindset, now all you got to do is make decisions, fail, get up, make decisions, fail, course correct until you hit the dot.
Nice. That's beautiful, man. I totally agree with you. It's hard to sometimes have that viewpoint, but no doubt, when you're being hit with something that seems insurmountable, if you look at it like, all right, I'm just being drawn back, I'm about to fire, that works. Another thing you mentioned that I think is important for people to know, you said you need to take about 90 days to, I don't know if you said go dark or go deep, but 90 days, I think you said, to just sort of focus on you.
Lock in.
That's interesting because a lot of people would want sort of an instant response or more of a quicker turnaround of events. And the fact that you put 90 days on it, 90 days to get to that point where you are ready to make changes and do something is, I think, a good target. It's not saying it's going to happen in a day or even a week or a month.
Right.
Some people lose hope when it doesn't happen faster. But I like that you're like 90 days is what it can take to shift your circumstances. So that's a good expectation.
Yeah. So we look at the media and we see the instant success. We're like, man, they just woke up and they had it. Like the famous entertainer woke up and had it. The famous singer woke up and had it. The famous athlete woke up and had it. The famous millionaire, billionaire, they woke up and they had it. They don't see the dark. They don't see the pain. They don't see the sacrifice. And that right there, that is a big word. You know what? Give me a second. I got to write that word down, because sacrifice separates a lot of people. You have potential, you have talent, and then you have a decision. Not in every case, but in a lot of cases. You have potential, you have talent, and it's like, are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to do a little bit extra, like get this much extra each day? Are you willing to turn off the TV? Are you willing to turn off the computer? Are you willing to say no to certain habits? Are you willing to sacrifice? Every dream requires a sacrifice.
That's right. And I think you're spot on, man. And we've talked about this in the past. I actually gave a speech. This was to a children's business network. And it was pretty cool, man. You had these 9, 10, 11-year-olds who had started a business. Usually simple things. It might be selling cookies or drawing paintings, but they were running a company. It's pretty cool. And the point of it was exactly your point, is that failure shouldn't dissuade you from continuing on. Because I don't know of anybody where it came easy. Some of the more notable examples was like, J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter author. I think she was denied 9 times before somebody ever decided to publish her book. She had to keep going back. Denied. Going back again. Refused. Which is remarkable because I love those books. There's so many examples. The KFC founder, Colonel Sanders. I think he submitted his recipes like 1,000 times before somebody said, hey, this is pretty damn good. I think we ought to actually do this. But in looking over the successful people, I don't think anybody got there easy. And it's just like you said, man, you can look at that person and say, well, I wish I was Steve Jobs. But really? That's true. He did well, but are you going to go through what he went through to get there? And that's where it separates the adults from the children.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you're right, man. And I wish more people were made aware of that when they get out and they try entrepreneurship, or they get out and they whatever, try to go for their goals. It's like, just expect the failure. Don't be surprised when it happens. It's going to happen.
Yeah. If you go onto Google and you type in, like, millionaire is not a big benchmark like it used to be, but you type in millionaire and bankruptcy in the same sentence, and it says the average millionaire has filed for bankruptcy 3.2 times.
No kidding.
Yeah. Those were failed.
3.2. I've heard that. I've had my experience with it too. But 3.2, okay, that's yeah. Good to remember. Because it's so easy to get hit and then say, damn it, this is not for me. And I've heard of good people who had good dreams give up. And I'm like, no, man, don't stop yet. It's not time to stop.
Yeah. Sometimes the dream is for you. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Sometimes the dream is for you, and sometimes the dream is meant to pass through you. Like, if I'm looking at it, I love God, so hope this is not offensive to people. But if I'm trying to get a dream into 2024, it's possible that those dreams are going to pass from generation to generation to generation. When Dr. Martin Luther King was like, I had a dream for civil rights, freedom. I mean, that, for all intents and purposes, might not have been his dream. That dream could have started on the slave ship. That dream of freedom had hundreds of years. Like, I'll give you a more modern example. Look at Tiger Woods. I'm pretty sure his dad wanted to be a golf player. He don't know where his dream is coming from, but it was there. But it was meant for Tiger. Look at Venus and Serena. It's like passing that dream down. So you are either you have the dream or you're the carrier of the dream.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And that's one. I hope this doesn't offend you or anybody else, but Trump's picked RFK Jr. to head HHS. You know what I'm talking about?
HHS.
Health and Human Services. That's part of the government that's over the FDA and the CDC. All right.
Yeah.
Now, he started this Make America Healthy Again.
Okay.
And Trump has nominated him to be head of HHS. That's a massive position. They have like almost $2 trillion allocated each year to spend. I mean, it's massive. Now, some people don't like RFK. I think he's phenomenal. I love him. But some people are like, no, he's a little out there. But if he doesn't get nominated, he has started something great. Because right now, last year, I don't remember seeing anybody on the news talking about food, childhood health issues, all these things going on in our food. But right now, I see it everywhere. That was him that started it. So if he doesn't become the man carrying the mantle, he's at least started that dream that's going to change things, I think. Anyway, but I agree with you. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, and again, to your point, not to get super political, but yeah, he's going after all of it. He's going after vaccines. He's going after everything.
Well, I think he's healing this vaccine issue. In his defense, I'll say he's not trying to eliminate vaccines. I think they just want to research and make them healthy. But
I get it. And I've done, a lot of research on that as well. So, yeah, I think it's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. But that's cool. I feel you on the dream you might just start a great movement. Whether it ends with you or not, it's still an important step.
Yeah, that's why I give so much respect. I have so much respect for teachers. I have so much respect for coaches. I have so much respect for mentors. You see, in my opinion, these are true winners. See, successful people are taught how to produce. Winners are not only taught how to produce, they're taught how to reproduce. So whenever you see a Mark Zuckerberg, like who was his mentor? Well, I believe Mr. Gates had his hand on that. When you see like who was the coach to LeBron James in the formative years? Who was the coach to Michael Jordan? Who were these individuals? Who was the teacher that sparked, maybe a famous celeb that you can be great?
Have you ever heard of an author named John Maxwell?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I think in his 5 levels of leadership, I think that's the name of the book. The 5th level is you are now creating other leaders. That's the top of the ladder. Like once you've elevated all through you're now at number 5, you're now making other leaders, which perfectly coincides with what you're saying. Yeah.
And that actually generates the greatest sense of happiness is that, I am reproducing in other people, because that's a spiritual law that is actually in harmony with nature. You take an apple, great apple, apple's beautiful, apple falls, apple dies, apple has seeds, apple reproduces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. It takes a little bit of self-humility to do it, because a lot of people come in very competitive and see the world with competition, not as I want to better.
Right. That's why when I talk about winning, the number one competitor when it comes to winning is you. You are fighting against yourself. You have an inside game, and the inside game is, did I do my best? Working to do my best, sacrificing your ego, killing your flesh, breaking yourself down, denying yourself, moving to get the fullest expression of who you are mentally, spiritually, socially, emotionally, financially, and legacy. That's the winner.
Shawn, I hate this, man, but I'm going to run out of time soon. But before we go, can you pick out? All right, so let me just say this for the audience. We have 2 books that you've written. The Winning Edge, 8 Principles That Will Bring Out the Winner in You. And the second book, The Winologist. So anybody listening, please go check these books out. And if you can, Shawn, can you pull out one little nugget of wisdom that we can leave the audience with from those? Is there any way to do that?
Yeah. So I would like to, in reference to the winner's edge, the winning edge, there is a section that I allude to of getting back on the bike. And what I mean by that is that when we're young, we learn through failing. We learn through falling. That's how we learn how to ride a bike. We fell off the bike. That's how we learn how to walk. We fail, right? And that's how we learn. We learn through mistakes. We learn through rejection. We learn through setbacks. What happens is that when we get into school, they teach us that failure is such a bad thing. I remember when I was, my son, he was in 11th grade and he brought home like a D minus. And I went through the roof because I'm paying a lot of money each month. And he told me, he said, Dad, it's not a big deal. I'm like, it's a huge deal. He said, no, Dad, all I have to do is go home in a room, restudy, take the test, make the corrections, and I get a half credit. And I just lost it, right? But what it was doing is that it was teaching him how to course correct, teaching him how to look at the mistake, course correct, and make adjustments, and then come back for the win. Once you learn from your mistakes, it ceases from being a failure and it turns into tuition. And that's how you rebrand it. My mistakes are tuition for the next level.
Nice. I like that too, because my son has pulled this one on me, and I've questioned like, well, should you have gotten it right the first time if you had studied a little harder? But I like what you said, man. They are learning to like take a defeat and learn how to course correct.
Course correct.
That's good. Nice, man. All right, very good. Well, listen, Shawn, man, this has been a fascinating interview, and I want to congratulate you and applaud you everything for taking a very tough situation and turning it around and becoming very accomplished. So congrats to all you've done in life.
Thank you. Thank God. Yeah.
And also, everybody, if you're listening, 2 books, The Winning Edge, 8 Principles That Will Bring Out the Winner in You, and also The Winologist. When did you write those, Shawn?
It took me about 5 years to write The Winning Edge. That's about 7-8 years ago. Took me about a year to write The Winologist. That's about 2 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm working on some more stuff as well. So
good for you, man. That's not, as a guy as busy as you, it's not easy to find time to write a book. The book's on my bucket list too, but I gotta extract myself from a few activities. Sit down. So anyway, listen, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Hey, thank you. Let's go. Let's win. We had a blast.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Harper. And everybody, thank y'all very much for joining us. This has been another Hines on Air. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button, click the like button, and leave comments. And we look forward to seeing you at the next Hines on Air.
Hines on Air is for you. Remember to subscribe, like, and leave a review whenever you listen to podcasts. Your support helps us reach more people and continue sharing these incredible stories.